It was a day much like today that Lord Byron visited Chillon Castle, the place that inspired one of his most famous poems, The Prisoner of Chillon. The rain was incessant, caused by volcanic eruption in Java, bringing a whole summer of gloom to Europe, and possibly what inspired these writers, who were on their grand tour of Europe, to invent a whole new genre of literature, science fiction, here in Geneva. To commemorate the 200th anniversary of his visit on the 25th of June 1816 and his 5-month stay in Switzerland, Château de Chillon is holding a Byron is Back exhibition. The major events, encounters and discoveries that had an impact on his literary work are highlighted throughout the castle.
I'm Maudini Ediger, and I'm one of the exhibition manager of Chillon Castle. So we are 3 working on some exhibition each year, and for this year it was one of our biggest exhibition.
Today the heavens have opened, not dissimilar to when Byron was actually staying here, correct?
Exactly, yeah. Summer 1816 was really terrible because 1 year before a volcano had exploded in Indonesia, so you had some rain, fog and storm during the entire summer when Byron came to visit Switzerland. So I think it's what's really like when Lord Byron came to visit Chillon Castle. We know that he came with a boat and he had to stop here because the lake was really so terrible. So at the beginning he had not decided to visit Chillon Castle, but when he saw this castle in the middle of nature with this big storm, it was a perfect place for him in the quest of sublime of the romantic literary movement. We are in the prison of Chillon Castle. That's the most important part of Chillon because it's there that Lord Byron heard the first time of the great prisoner François Bonivard. Then he wrote this famous poem, The Prisoner of Chillon, about the life of François Bonivard.
At last men came to set me free. I asked not why, recked not where. It was at length the same to me, fettered or fetterless to be. I'd learned to love despair, and thus when they appeared at last, and all my bonds aside were cast, these heavy walls to me had grown a hermitage, all my own.
Even today, the visitors come here to see the prison. That's what they want to see. In this place, you can have some parts of the poem around the pilasters, because the most important part of the poem says there are 7 pillars of Gothic mould in Chillon's dungeon steep and old. There are 7 columns massy and grey, dim with a dull imprisoned ray. And that's really the first thing you see when you come in this prison, these 7 pillars. So around each pillar we have an important part of the atmosphere of this poem. And we have also some explanations about François Bonivard, because he was this famous prisoner, this famous figure of this poem, but he was also an important historical figure of Geneva city. So we are in the Salon Anken, and in this part we speak about the life of Byron and about the major inspirations he gets from the literary, so from the Roman period and the Greeks, of course, then until his contemporaries. And at the same time, Lord Byron lived in the Villa Diodati in the city of Geneva. At the beginning, he didn't have decided to come in Switzerland just for beauty, but he was, he fled from England because he had a love affair with his half-sister. And it was so a big scandal in London that he had to flee and to leave behind him, so his half-sister, but also his wife. And that's why he decided to come in Switzerland, in Geneva, to meet another great English poet, Percy Shelley.
And at the time, surprisingly, Switzerland and Geneva was considered fairly bohemian.
Yes, we can say that, and it's funny because when you read the newspapers of this period, when they knew, so the people of Geneva knew that Lord Byron was coming, it was incredible, and they wanted to know everything. It was a sort of paparazzi of the 19th century. So Geneva was considered as a quiet place, but nothing important to see. And we can really say that it was after Lord Byron and the Romantic came that Geneva and Geneva Lake became important spots to see. this part of the exhibition is the real highlight because we decided to have a sort of inspiration about mountains, because Lord Byron liked a lot his trip in the Swiss Alps. And we wanted to show that, because we know that he came in Chillon Castle, but it was not the only part in Switzerland that he loved. And he wrote that he was really in love with the Swiss landscapes. But he didn't like the Swiss men.
Oh, really?
Why is that? He said that the Swiss men were some peasants and rude, and he was really shocked by the way to be of the Swiss men in the Alps. We are really lucky for the exhibition because it's the first time that we have really important stuff to show. And for example, you have a letter of Lord Byron writing to his editor just after he's visiting in Chillon Castle.
His handwriting is really, can't tell what he's written.
It's terrible to read Lord Byron, that's the problem. In French we say écrire comme un cochon, so it means to write like a pig. And I think we can really say that because it's sometimes really difficult, and when you read the manuscripts of the poems it's more difficult because he decided to change something and you have words everywhere. It's really difficult.
So we've gone down some stairs. Where are we now?
So we are in one of the darkest part of the castle. It's the Domus Clericorum, so it means that during Middle Ages there were some monks here writing and copying everything about the castle, so the counts and everything like that. And in this place today we have the touristical part of this exhibition. So the title is Byron, the Original Tourist. And I think that's really that, because he was the best marketing man for us. After he came to visit Chillon Castle, this part of Switzerland and the castle became really famous.
The temporary exhibition, Byron is Back, has many original documents loaned from prestigious institutions such as the National Library of Scotland, the State Archives of Geneva and the Vaud Cantonal Archives. It runs until the 21st of August.